top 200 salon owner, badass mama, and did I mention not a licensed hairstylist? That's right. Natalie Wood is a top 200 salon owner, and she isn't even a stylist. I am so happy to have her on the Beauty Pro podcast because, like me, the beauty and barber industry pulled us in, and we are so pleased to be in its grips. So, listen and watch this week's episode as I chat with my new online bestie, as we learn from each other, we inspire each other. And so go listen to me and Natalie Wood's chat. Are you a beauty or barber pro looking for that push to do that thing you've always wanted to do, whether it's in or out of the salon, spa, or shop? Are you tired of not feeling good enough, smart enough, skilled enough? Are you tired of not getting a handle on your mental health, boundaries, and insecurities? I'm Christine Sherwood, the Beauty Pro Coach, an internationally certified coach, a salon and spa owner, and your personal Jiminy Cricket. I use my own experiences, good and bad, as a salon owner to help you be more self-aware, authentic, and forward-thinking in your approach to life, in and out of the salon. It's time to reach your version of success with the Beauty Pro Coach podcast. Hello, my dear listener. This is Christine, the Beauty Pro Coach, and on the Beauty Pro podcast. And I am here with Miss Natalie Wood.
Hi.
And she is here. I'm so excited. Natalie, tell everybody who you are, what you do, and your salon is a top 200, isn't it?
It is. It is.
It
I need to resubmit again this year because I haven't done it in a couple years because it's such a process. But yes, we got top 200 in culture, and something else I forgot, but definitely in culture. But I want to resubmit, and because it's always so fun, to
Mhm.
just. And then of course you go to the whole celebration. You get to meet all the other salon owners. It's awesome, awesome experience. But anyway, yep, I'm Natalie. I own Click Salon in Houston,
Woo
just like you said. That's my name.
woo.
And I've been doing it for 22 years. And, like you and I just talked about before we started recording, is, what's so cool is you and I don't do hair.
Mm-mm. We do
And so,
not. Surprise,
yeah,
surprise, everybody.
yep.
Oh my
So,
goodness. So share how you fell into this business. Like, was it a family thing? Were you just like, ooh, a salon for sale? Like, how did this happen?
yeah, I mean, I think you'd have to be very unique to just all of a sudden wake up one day and go, I want to own a salon, but not do hair. So obviously, I just kind of fell into it.
Mm.
So I got married at 23, super young. Don't do it. Highly do not recommend getting married that young. Yeah, did you
Past
do the
that
same thing?
time. Past that time. No,
Oh, okay.
I'm still single and ready to mingle, guys.
Oh, okay. So you're just opposite. You actually waited. Good for you.
I did. I missed my first divorce, so it's good.
Oh, good for you. Well, hopefully you won't have one. Anyway, so I had just gotten my undergrad in psychology, and I was kind
Mhm.
of, what do I do? Because there's really not a whole lot of just, wide options to do with an undergrad in psych. Anyway, so I met my ex-husband in a hair salon. He was a stylist, and he cut my hair. And I should have known that it wasn't going to work out because the first time he cut my hair, I cried.
Oh no.
Because he, like, cut it all off, and it wasn't his fault, to be fair to him. It wasn't his fault, it just was one of those, I wasn't ready for what I thought I was ready
Mhm.
for.
Mhm.
Anyway, but I'm just saying that was a sign. But anyway, long story short, we got married and we moved to Houston. We lived in a very small town, a couple hours away from Houston. Moved to Houston because I wanted to go to grad school here, and he was talking about wanting to open a salon. And I was like, why don't we, just kind of, I have my undergrad in psych, so I can kind of do the people management aspect, and you do the hair, and let's
Mhm.
we'll open the salon together. So that's how I got into it. And I really planned on it being a short-term thing. And I knew that it was for me when I went ahead and went to grad school. And I remember sitting in classes, and the whole time, all I could think about was how to grow the business,
Mm.
And so I was like, okay, this clearly is the direction I need to go in because it's, my obsession. And so that's how I got started. And then, down the road, obviously, divorce, et cetera. And, I was just still so passionate. It just grew and grew. And, I said, I want the business. That's what I want. And he was kind of not really into it anymore. So, you know, that's how I ended up where I am.
Look at you, girl. We're getting divorced? Yeah, okay, I want the business. I
Mhm.
don't want the house. I want the business,
Yeah,
thanks.
that was my thing. I said I
I
want the
love it.
business, and I want my son. And like I joke, but I don't joke, in the
Mhm.
sense of I get what I want. And that doesn't mean that, I just lay back. I go after it. And I knew like those are the two things I want. Like those are the two things that are really important to me. And so I got them both.
Whoop, whoop.
Yep.
Hello.
Here we are.
Winners. We're winners.
Yes, we
Um,
are.
so so how did that go for you, not being a stylist, not growing up in the business, like, you literally, like, fell into this. How did you get a staff and to be, like, a 200 rated a top 200 salon? Like, how
Mhm.
did you go from there to there?
Well, a lot of work,
Mhm.
right? A whole lot of work. I think I base everything on the foundation of relationships. And that was just my thing from day one was if you build the relationship, and a relationship doesn't mean you have to go have dinner and drinks every weekend. That's not what I'm saying at all. I mean, if that happens, great. But so everything was relationship, 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 and then I would springboard off of that. And, that's a really simple answer. If I, obviously there's so many things that go into building, a top 200 team or just a team in general. There's so many salons out there that would easily be in the top 200. They just don't apply, whatever, but
Mhm.
have great teams. And relationships first. Everything else will follow. Everything. Because you can't talk about numbers, you can't influence, you
Mm.
can't do anything if the relationship isn't there. And when I say relationship, obviously that has to be built on trust, mutual trust, respect. And once you have that foundation of relationship, everything else just follows. It's my
Mm, I
belief anyway.
No, I love that. That is, at least for me, that's like been a big part of my salon and even this podcast is just
Mm.
collaborating with people,
Yes,
connecting,
collaboration, absolutely.
you
Mhm.
know? Like
And
you are
it's
we're not an island.
No, we're not, and it's your team is you I love that you just said collaborate, and you also on one of your podcasts, or it might even be on your bio, you talk about empowering.
Mm,
So, I'm huge on collaboration, empowering, and it's not you don't work for me, we work together. We work
mhm,
with each other, we co-brand, everything is together, and that's just so important is you collaborate with your team. You don't tell them, "Oh, you do this and this and this and this because I said." It's collaboration. And yes, sometimes you have to make those final decisions as the owner,
mm,
but as much as possible, get their input, hear what they have to say, ask them, I'm sure you do the same thing. But I love collaboration. I love how you empower people. That's another thing. I empower them as much as I can to actually, give me ideas, thoughts to grow the business. And
mhm.
that way the business isn't just grown by me, it's by them.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
100%. Earlier today I was talking to somebody and I said, and it's been resonating with me all day, like, as an owner, as a leader, it's my job to make sure that my team feels like they're fulfilled. You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
absolutely.
Like they're
Mhm.
living their life purpose and their dream with
Yep.
me, like, if
Mhm.
they're not doing that, then I'm not doing my job, like, I failed, you know?
Absolutely. Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and, one of the things I love to say is, you know, I don't take care of our guests. The
Mhm.
team takes care of our guests. My guests, my clients are them.
Yeah.
And
Ooh, I
so
like that.
that's kind of how it operates. And of course, it doesn't mean I never talk with a guest or deal with a guest issue. But
Mhm.
overall, 90% of my time is spent with the team. They're my clients. And so it's what do you need? What can I do for you? How are you? And then if that is done well, then they take care of the clients coming in the door.
Mm,
So that's kind of like the pyramid that I like to,
I love it.
use that analogy.
Yeah. Okay,
Mhm,
so we were talking just before we hit record about getting hate for
mhm,
not being a licensed beauty pro, right?
mhm.
So, how have you come back? Like, how have you overcome the haters?
Well, I ignore them. That's what my social
Yes.
media person has taught me, to just ignore it. Uh, and I like to let my results speak for themselves.
Yeah.
Right?
Mhm.
But obviously, someone that doesn't believe in that concept of, more power to you. If you want to work in a salon that is owned by someone that is a licensed cosmetologist, no judgment. Clearly, they're not working at our salon, um, or it wouldn't be a good fit. Um, but I have found that, first off, vast majority, they don't, anyone that comes to interview with us, and they don't even know, a lot of times they have no idea if I do hair or not. In fact, it's funny, a lot of people that come and work with us don't even know till months later, because they'll be like, "Wait, you don't do hair?" I'm like, "No," and so it's not really an issue because they just come in, and we, have built such an amazing education team. I'm sure if you don't do hair, then obviously you have to hire people that are really good at teaching hair. And I think this whole, thought process of, if you're going to own a business, you have to, do whatever it is that business is. No one else would think that about, a car wash or a restaurant, or, oh, so you're not in the kitchen every day? Then I'm not going to that restaurant. Or, wait, they're washing cars every day? Well, I'm not going there. It's not about that. It's all about, can you take care of people, and can you hire the right people to do what either you can't do or don't want to do?
Mm. It's the ultimate form of delegation right there.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I love it. I
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah.
Okay, so now what do you say to those stylists? Like, let this be a teaching moment for everybody. What do you
Mhm.
say to those stylists that are like, "Oh, you're the owner, you're just getting rich off of us," or "You're like a pimp." I had a beauty pro tell me that one day who worked for me. She's like, "You're like a pimp. You just like push your girls out and and they make
Mhm.
you money. You're a madam." And I was like,
Mhm.
that's funny, but it wasn't a good thing. So, what do
No,
you say?
that's really funny because I've had people joke that exact same analogy, and,
Okay.
I just kind of like, whatever.
Uh-huh.
Um, but as far as, let's see, how do I actually handle that? I think that the only way you can handle that is, once again, kind of ignore the haters. But if it really is a legit issue,
Mm.
um, I find that the best way is just educate people, educate. And once people are truly educated, and I say educate, I'm not talking about someone on social media or some stranger that just wants to make a comment. But if someone on my team, actually thinks that, then obviously, yeah, I'm going to educate them about that. And, one of the things that I'm so proud of, and, this was like super early on, it was, make sure that you have a lot of people on your team that have homes and that drive nice cars before you do. You know,
Oh.
that way it's like, you once again, the results kind of speak for themselves. So if you have everyone driving beat up cars and, barely making rent, and then you're out, living in a mansion and driving a super expensive, yeah, that's not going to go over well, you know.
Mhm. Yeah.
So I kind of go back to education and just
Mhm.
the results, speak for themselves. And so people just kind of know, like, wow, like they all own their homes, or they all drive nice cars, anyone that's been there, 4 years plus. And so they kind of realize, okay, it's, you're not just pimping them out. So I don't know. That's that. How do you handle it?
Well, when I got that first analogy, I mean, I laughed, and this was early
Mhm.
on
Yeah.
early on in my salon ownership days, and I laughed and I was like, yeah.
Mhm.
Now, if
Yeah,
they would have,
yep, same.
like, because what do you do? You're like, yeah, that's really
Mhm,
legit.
mhm.
Now I feel like if somebody told me that, I'd be like, yeah, it's similar, but you know what? We're here as a team. Like, I would
Yep.
totally reframe it because
Mm.
it's not that. Like, I'm
Yeah.
not pimping you out to make me
Mhm.
rich, like a Madam
Right,
Web. I'm here with you. We're
right,
in this
right.
together so that we can both grow.
Yep,
So,
absolutely. It's a
yeah,
together thing. Once
it
again,
is.
everything's collaboration. Yeah.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Okay. So now, because I know I did. I had to learn so much. I had to learn
Mhm.
about commission structures. I had to learn about
Mm.
people. I had to learn, um, between colors and cuts and all of that. What did you, especially like the pay structure and the bones of the
Mhm.
business,
Mhm.
how did you learn with that? Like, did you hire people or
Yeah, all these questions, it's so hard for me to not be like, "Okay, you tell me first," because it's like I wanna get everything from you because that's just my personality. No, you tell me. But I know that obviously isn't the point.
I will definitely share, but
Okay, okay,
I did
good.
ask.
So, I was so thrown into it. And, I will tell anyone. I was actually we have one-on-one monthly meetings with every individual team member. And I was talking with one the other day and I said, I have zero problems admitting I had no fucking clue what I
Mm.
was doing. Like no fucking clue. I don't know if you felt that
Yes,
way looking
yes,
back,
it did,
but I'm
yes.
just like, it's almost embarrassing, like, how did we even make it? Because
Yeah,
no fucking clue.
yes.
So, I really I use the word education a lot. That's so important to me, and so I just educated the hell out of myself. I went to every conference. This was well, they still have serious business, but
Mhm.
serious business at the time I had never heard of. And so I remember going to my first serious business conference and I was like, oh my God, and so, in 22 years, we've changed a lot. Partly because we've just learned better ways, and partly because the industry changes and you have to change along with it.
Yeah.
But trial and error and education, like I just
Mm.
dove into it. And so when I say education, that means, tons of mentors. Not I didn't have any one specific person as in like a coach, like what you do. I don't even think they had that back then. If they did, I didn't know about it anyway. So just figured it out, and like I said, looking back, I'm like, how in the hell did we do it? But I'm gonna go back to relationships and being open to ideas. And when we heard of a new, better way, or someone else had an idea, I mean,
Yeah,
not that we automatically did it, but very open to it. And
yeah,
so, yeah, just
yeah.
educate, educate, and
I'm
I still do it.
I'm right there with you.
Yeah,
Like,
tell me, how did you do it?
oh my god, so much trial and error. I look back and, there's that conversation of, like, toxic salon owners.
Oh, yeah.
Like, that's kind of what happened. Like, it's like an
Mhm.
initiation. You can't
Yeah.
run a salon without being toxic at some point. And
Mhm.
so, yeah, when
No, I
it came,
agree with that. Yeah.
like, it's embarrassing at this point,
Mhm.
but now I use it because
Mhm.
it's true. So
Mhm.
now when it came to commissions and stuff,
Mhm.
man, at that time in the industry, I think everybody was, like, free balling it,
Oh, yeah.
and they
You
had
just
no
threw
idea.
out a number. You just threw one out.
Yes, yes,
Whatever.
we did. We were like,
Yeah.
"That sounds good." So
Uh-huh.
we tried
Yeah.
it, and then when we tried to change it, that was tough. And then
Yep.
we got educated. We found a coach. It was a
Mhm.
very new concept.
Mhm.
Um, and we kinda stuck with that for a little bit. And then we got an accountant that actually was
Mhm.
teaching us, and then
Mhm.
we got another person, and then we were just learning as we went, and
Mhm.
now we're like, "Oh,
Yep.
okay." It takes time.
It
It
takes
takes
time. And
time.
how long have you guys been in business? How long have you been?
Probably around this along the same.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay. Okay.
yeah,
So, yeah, and I think too, one of the things that I love to do, and I still do it. I obviously don't need to do it as much now, but I would like take a little bit of from this person or a little bit from this conference. I'm sure you've heard of strategies like when they were like
yes.
really popular. I'm not saying they're not anymore. I just don't know. And I remember going to like a strategies conference, and then, I would just pull a little bit because I was
Mhm.
never one, I'm never just going to jump on a bandwagon of like anyone. Just not my thing.
Right.
Like, I don't want to be a specific salon, like a,
Uh-huh.
name brand salon, like someone
Yeah.
else's name brand. I want to be click salon. So I would just like take a little bit here and a little bit there and like create our own recipe.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes. That's what we ended up doing too. Because everybody has their own strengths,
absolutely.
especially with the brands. There's one brand
Mhm.
that's great for this and another for that. And you can't just give your all. At least
No,
that's for me in my own personal life too.
that
Like
same.
I love all the things. I'll go horseback riding, I'll go
Mhm,
mudding, I'll go to the beach, I'll go to the
mhm,
mountains, and I love it all. I can't
mhm.
just pick one.
Yeah, yeah. And that just goes back to like versatility. I think to be a really good owner to me of anything, you have to be versatile. You have to be open minded. You have to try so many things and know that there's a very high failure rate with certain things too. When to tweak things, when to quit things.
Mhm.
But yeah, absolutely.
I love it. Okay, so
Hmm.
now what's a struggle you're going through right now?
Hmm. It's such a good one right now. Okay, I mean, I say, yeah, okay, pretty easy.
Okay.
So, and tell me if you can relate to this.
Okay.
I mean, I feel like in a sense you are kind of doing it, but just in a different way. So right now, my biggest struggle is what to do next.
Mm,
So, you have your, salon and spa, correct?
mhm.
That you
Yep.
own? Okay. And so obviously now you're coaching, you're doing podcast. And so, I'm trying to decide, okay, do I want to expand, the brand? Do I want to create more salons, right? Because we could easily do that.
Mm.
We're ready if we wanted to do that. So do I want to do that? I know for me, one-on-one coaching, isn't what I want to do because I feel like I do that every day in the salon. So
Yeah.
I don't know
You're
if you
like,
feel
"I'm
that.
good. I'm good with
So
that."
yeah, I have people DM me and they're like, do you do one-on-one coaching? And I'll send them your way from here on out.
Go
Um,
ahead, bring them over.
because it's just not my, it's once again, I do it all day long. So I want to have a little bit more versatility. So it's just kind of trying to decide like, what is that next step? What does that look like for me? Because, once you have been doing what we do for so long, I'm ready to take on a new challenge.
Yeah.
And it's not like every day a challenge doesn't present itself, but something I need to do something different, but yet still in the industry to take that next growth step.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've been
What
there
if
every
Yeah.
once in a while. I get, like, have a little pity party, and I'm
Mhm.
like, "Oh my god," and I get so crazy trying to figure it out,
Yeah.
but then, like, I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be,
Mhm.
right? Like,
Mhm.
"Okay, it'll come to me when the time is right. I just gotta
Yeah.
keep going."
Mhm.
Yeah, I feel that.
And how long have you been a coach? Because I'm assuming you kinda took that pivot at some point, you kinda
Yeah.
felt the same way as in, "Okay, listen, what else do I wanna do next?" Like, how long have you been a coach, or when did you take that pivot?
I think I've been a coach probably about 7 or 8 years now.
Wow, okay.
And, like, time really flies
Mhm.
because to be a coach, first of all, to have a business, that's the
Mhm.
ultimate form of personal development, okay?
Yeah.
Like, you need to be
Absolutely.
right up here. And
Mhm.
then t when I when I
Yes,
was
you do.
yeah, because you're leading people. And then
Mhm.
to be a coach, I had to go through everything I put my coaching clients through so that
Mhm.
I could be prepared. And
Mhm.
so every good thing takes time,
Mhm.
and it's hard.
Absolutely.
It's
Mhm.
hard, but then you get it and you're like, "Oh,
Mhm.
very cool."
Yeah. What made you
Yeah.
decide to do the coaching? Were you just ready
I
to do
was
something
I was
different?
going I was going right through what you're going through.
Yeah.
Like, I was looking for something, and I was like,
Mhm.
"Man, I gotta do something." I was
Mhm.
depressed, I
Yeah.
gained weight. I was
Mhm.
like, "Okay, I gotta do something."
Mhm. And I love the fact that you created your own brand of coaching, and nothing against people that coach for another company. There's nothing wrong with that at all. But I do, major respect that you were like, I'm going to like literally create my own brand of coaching. And, I think that's really awesome.
Thank you for recognizing that, because that's one
Mhm.
of my things with all business. Like, I am a firm believer in finding something and building it from
Yep.
the ground up. I
Hmm.
love sponsorship. So if
Absolutely.
you wanna sponsor me. But
Yeah.
I love being able to, like,
Mm.
go from the ground up and make something and really say, "I built this."
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, that shows you obviously wouldn't be where you are if you didn't love that. I mean, I don't think you could really be a true entrepreneur and not love to do that. There's just a certain satisfaction.
Mhm.
And then, yeah, when you reach a certain point, you're like, okay, I've done this. What's next? What can I
Mhm.
build next? What can I create next?
Yeah. So
Mhm.
who are your top 3 most influential people, whether they're in the industry or just in your life, or both?
Mm. I mean, I remember my first Tony Robbins seminar that I went to. So I have to say, not, I mean, currently I'm, not that into him, but I mean, as far as making an impact on me initially, huge.
Yeah.
Uh, I still remember, have you ever been to one of his conferences?
I haven't, but everybody tells me to go, and I always miss it. I always find out about it after the
Mhm.
fact, so I
I
gotta do it.
yeah, I mean, I recommend it. I mean, I say that I think it kind of depends on where you are, but at
Mhm.
the time, I just loved it. And he like actually taught me that it's okay to say fuck. And
Yeah.
because I was like, oh well, that's just not professional or, and once I started like thinking about it, I'm like, that's just such a false belief that someone put in my head at some point. And not saying that you have to say fuck, but it's like if you want to say fuck,
That's
it's
so
like
funny.
I went through like a 1 year period to where I was like, fuck, 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 fuck. And they're like, Natalie, like, chill. And, I had to like get all my fucks out,
Yeah.
So, he was huge and just making me realize that I had so many, false belief systems that I
Yeah,
thought were real, but just, they're given to us obviously by, adults in our life. And
sure.
when we're children. So he was definitely huge. Uh, Brene Brown,
Love her.
obviously, like, when it comes to, all the emotions and, empathizing and vulnerability and authenticity. I mean, that's my big thing is live your free, right? And
Mhm.
so love, love her. In fact, I can't wait for her next book to come out. I'm like, come on. And she's from Houston. She lives in Houston.
Oh, I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
yeah. I would love to have her as a client in the salon, but, obviously I'm not gonna like, stalk her
We're not
because
gonna push
that'd be
it, but,
weird.
go to click,
Uh-huh.
Renee.
Yep, if you listen to this by any chance, Renee, come into the salon. But yeah, as far as I know she, last I heard lived in Houston from Houston. I think she still does, not sure, but anyway,
I love it.
she's huge. And then just off the top of my head, I also have to say like Glennon Doyle.
Oh, I don't know who they are.
Glennon Doyle, it's like one person, like
Oh,
Glennon
it
Doyle,
sounded like it sounded like
like
Hall and Oates.
Glennon. Oh my God, that's so funny. Like,
I'm like, Glennondale, who are they?
Glennon Doyle. So, Abby Wambach, like the soccer
Yeah.
champion. So that's her wife. So Glennon and Abby are
Oh.
married. They have an amazing podcast.
Oh, I gotta
Um,
listen.
it's like, one of her phrases is "We can do hard things" or something like
Oh,
that.
okay.
You wanna talk about, like, empowerment, especially, female empowerment? Glennon is great story, and we have very similar stories, like, personal stories, so love her. But, yeah, I love to read. I love podcasts, all this kind of stuff, so
Mhm.
there's I remember one time I had this false belief that, oh, we'll have to have an actual, mentor, like someone I'm friends with, right? Like someone that I can
Mm,
see every day. And someone said, well, that's not true. Like there's thousands of mentors out there. Like just
yeah.
go buy books, go to conferences, podcasts, whatever, YouTube.
Mhm.
And it really opened my mind to, there's lots of options out there.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Oh, yeah. It's like opening your heart, and then you get
mhm,
all of this information when you let
mhm,
go of that thing, like, you're, like, white knuckling it. You're like, "No,"
mhm.
and then you're like, "Oh, there's so much for me."
So much. And it's just kind of like what you were saying earlier is, We are right where we need to be. And if we would just, let go more then and be okay with that, the people, the mentors, the coaches that we really need are going to come into our life when it's meant to be.
Mhm. Mhm.
So, who's your favorite? If you had to name one
Oh
right
my
now.
gosh. I off the top of my head right now, probably the most influential person would be actually my personal coach, relationship coach. Her name is Dr. Morgan Anderson. Actually, she's on the podcast.
Really?
Yes, go check her out.
Okay.
She like
Now,
Valentine's Day episode.
is she like a life coach or is she a salon coach?
She is actually a clinical psychologist.
Okay.
And for my personal life, but I was like, "Oh my god, I need her to come on here," because like
Mhm.
you have already experienced, marriage and divorce in our industry is
Mhm.
it is rampant. So I had her come
Yeah.
on. But
Mhm.
she really changed my life, and who I am today is
Mhm.
totally different than 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Full of limiting beliefs, full of relationship
Mhm.
dark clouds, and
Yep.
oh, I love her so much. So
Mhm.
she off the top of my head, she's like my favorite person.
Okay. I'll definitely have to listen to
Check
that
her
podcast.
out. It's so
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, I will.
But as a salon owner, how do you as the leader, how do
Mhm.
you nourish yourself?
Hmm. 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 You ask really good questions,
Thank you. Thank
And just
you.
so everyone knows, she clearly gave me no heads up on these questions. So, I think I'm doing pretty good winging it here.
This
So,
is raw. This is so
yeah,
raw,
and
and I
I
love it.
love it. I love it because, when you have time to prep these answers, sometimes they can be so inauthentic.
Mhm.
But how do I nourish myself? I'm just gonna have to say that I go through phases of where I'm really good at nourishing myself. And so when I am, doing really good, it's obviously, it's all the things you hear about. And I feel like even saying them, they sound so cheesy, but meditation, you know, eating healthy. I'm a big believer in therapy,
Mm.
clearly. And I think everyone can benefit,
Yes, thank
clearly,
you.
you know, you just, we're talking about, who influenced you the most was a literal, psychologist, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So therapy, been going for several years now. And before that, I would go on and off. So, just reading. And when I say reading, I know a lot of people in our industry are like, oh, I hate reading books. I don't mean if that's your thing, okay, fine. You don't have to pick it up and read it. It's like there's so many things you can, do audiobooks, podcasts, YouTubes, just something out there to nourish. Definitely like there is no such thing as balance. I don't believe in that. I don't believe you're ever going to find this perfect balance. So there's definitely times to where I'm not nourishing myself as much. So it's more of just being self-aware of, wow, I am just like burnt out. I'm worn out. I have to take time for myself and learning to be okay with that and not be so judgmental. And the shame
Mhm.
word, that I know if you've been in therapy, you realize how much shame we put on ourselves, for so many things that we shouldn't. And so it's just realizing like, hey, it's okay to take a break. It's okay to, binge Netflix if you need to. It's more about just, is that becoming a lifestyle that's preventing you, from being your best self. But those are definitely my things. I mean, exercise, I once again, not like super consistent, but I love to just go and walk in nature, which I don't really
Yes.
consider that exercise for your body, but it's so good for your mind.
Mhm.
But when I do exercise, I'm like such a VR fan. Do you have you
Yes.
done like the Oculus,
Yes. I
And
have
I
an
love
uncle
it.
doing that right now, actually.
Okay, I love it. So that is the number one exercise that I've been able to stay consistent with out of everything is I get on there and there's a game called Supernatural and I just love it. And so I put on my headset and like go to town and do my little boxing and lightsabers and it's a good workout. So, yeah.
Somebody looking in would be like, "What the
Oh
hell
yeah, it's
is
crazy.
happening?"
It's crazy. Have you played it before? Like any of
I
it?
haven't. I
Oh,
have
you have
not.
to. You have to. I'm not saying get supernatural, but you have to at least like just experience it because it's so fun. Like there's so many just fun games. Yeah, you got to try it.
Okay, I will try it. I will try it,
Yeah.
and I will get back to you.
Yeah, please do. Yeah.
I
Or
will.
have someone take a video of you. That's like even
That's
better.
the best.
Send that to me. That's the best. Mhm.
Alright. So, from going to school to be a psychologist to working
Mhm.
in the salon industry, there's lots of life lessons,
Oh my
right?
God. Yeah.
Um, what is a life lesson that you have learned from the beauty industry that you wish everybody and their mother would learn it and do it?
You said a life lesson?
Yeah.
Hmm. I would just have to say that you never know what people are going through. And
Oh.
so just be kind. Just be
Mhm.
kind because most people will walk in that door and they will put a smile on their face. And, you know, once you start talking to them, if you're good at actually asking the right questions and getting them to open up, man, the things I've seen and heard and experienced, over 22 years, and you would never know, is just be kind. And, I talk with my team all the time. We even talked about it today. We had our team meeting, and it was just one of our parts of our clicked experience is care, just
Mm.
care. And the only way you can care is by realizing that just because they look okay doesn't mean they are. Or if it's that client that isn't the nicest, you have no idea what they're going through. Not that in any way, we would ever allow a client to be, abusive or things like that. But just because they're not like the nicest or, the easiest, just be kind. One of the exercises I do in our meeting is I I ask everyone, and I'm like, how many people in here right now? And we have about 30 team members right now. So it's a good number to show this example. How many people in this room right now have been through depression, anxiety, or are currently going through it? And you have almost 100% of them raise their hands.
Mm.
And so when you see that, it's like, okay, we need to remember that when these people are walking in the door, that we don't know what they're going through. Just be kind.
Yeah. Oh, that is such a good thing, and I feel like more owners and even just beauty and barber pros, like, we need to remember that.
Yeah. And it's hard. It's hard when you see people day in and day out, and especially if they're bitchy or, it's not easy. I'm not saying that. It's super
Mhm.
easy for the nice ones, right?
Right.
But yeah, if we would just remember that, I think we'd be a lot more understanding and let go of a lot more, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, yeah. What is what's something in your area of expertise, whether psychology or the salon, that no one agrees with you about?
Gosh, I really like you. Like, I think I am this first on podcast. I'm like so good at asking questions. So it's like when people ask really good questions to me, I'm like, ooh, that's like I'm impressed
Thank
because
you.
yeah, really impressed. So something that no one agrees with me on. I mean, that's really hard. Like, you mean no one in the salon
It could
agrees with
be
me
the
on?
salon, it could be the
Just
salon,
anyone.
it could be your life, anybody about anything.
This is funny. I love Britney Spears and I love her music, and everyone makes fun of me when I put on my Britney Spears in the salon. They're like, "Oh my god, Natalie turned her music on." Um, but clearly that's just a salon thing because a lot of people like old Britney Spears music.
Mhm.
But I see.
It's Britney Spears. She's the answer.
Yeah. I as far as something that no one agrees with me on, and I'm going to say why this is so hard for me is because I am so, or I try to be so open minded. I can tell you like a most recent one,
Okay.
but I just changed it. So that's why I'm like, oh, damn, like it's hard. So, you know, as the industry changes, as, I get older, you know, I just let go of more and more control because when you try to control everything and everyone, it just stresses you out, right?
Mhm, mhm.
So, you know, I would have to say for the longest time, people definitely didn't agree with me about dress code in the salon. And I know that's like, we don't even want to touch that, right? Because, I would, we started out with like a dress code with, this big, like this many rules. And now it's like, two statements, but that just happened. I mean, down to two. Obviously, we would slowly,
Right, right,
um,
right.
slowly minimize it and have like less and less. But that's like the first thing that comes to my mind is, people in the salon, they'd always like, well, we should be able to do this or that or this or that. And, finally I was like, fuck it. Like, I don't have the energy to walk in here and be like, are you wearing a ponytail holder or not? Like, I have to just let go of that shit because it's driving me fucking insane. There's no
Yes.
benefit to it. There really isn't. Obviously influence and educate on, how you present yourself, how it, influences, the guests and the clients. But yeah, that's probably the most recent to where, I would just have to stand really firm as in like, no, guys, this is because you want everyone to look great, right? So it got to the point to where you would have people, and this is what really opened my mind. You'd have people that were in dress code and looked like shit. And then you'd have people that were out of dress code that looked amazing.
Oh, wow.
And so how can you deal with that? You can't, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, I would say that.
That's a good one. That's a good one
Mhm,
because before we got on, I was on Instagram really quickly and I saw a couple posts about dress code.
mhm.
Me, I'm very old school. I do like the black and white.
Sure.
I think when my salon gets to a certain level, I just like everything else, it's gonna change, you know.
Yeah. Mm.
Um, I don't think we're there yet. Sorry if you're listening, guys. But in any case, um, yeah, I love that. I love
Well,
that. And that was always a thing for me. Like, if if you can look good not in dress code, well, then look good in dress code. What are you doing? Like, just do it.
it's
But yeah,
it but that's why I said I know we don't
pick
really
your
even wanna
battles.
touch that. Exactly, but yeah, it's like, there was this one girl in particular, if she listens to this, I love you. Um, but she would just constantly be like, "Natalie, we should be able to wear, like, Crocs, like, cute Crocs." Like, she would show me these platform ones, and I'd be like, "No, no, 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 no." And finally, I was like, "You know what? If you wanna wear them and they look cute, like, wear them." And so, she literally has like the cutest. The other day I walked and she's like, Natalie, Natalie, like, come look, and cutest like platform Crocs. And, she looks amazing. Like, she dresses super creative. And you can have people that are in dress code and have, whatever type of shoe or pants. And then they just literally woke up and threw it on. And so I was like, you know what? Just look amazing. Look amazing. Just look amazing.
I laugh, and I feel we've been laughing a lot on this episode because, like, we get it. Like,
Yeah.
it's like,
Mhm.
oh my god, just look like you came off the runway, please,
Yeah. Yeah.
and do
Yeah.
and do great hair.
Yep. Mhm. And
Do
just have
great.
positive energy.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
such a big thing, like having that positive energy. And I don't mean the fake positive energy. Everyone goes
Mm,
through shit and we're such big believers. And we actually tell our team, like, if you have shit going on, do not leave it at the door. Now don't bring it into your clients,
right.
but bring it in and share, like, let the team know that you're having a hard day, what's going on, so we can be there to support you. But this
Right.
old shit of leave it all at the door and come in and just, be super, fake. And yes, we have to absolutely with our guests, if we're having a bad day, like, we have to fake that, right? Because we can't affect their experience. But you
Mhm.
shouldn't have to fake it with your team,
I
you
like
know?
that. Yeah. That goes on with something that I learned early on as a woman. We get that time of the month. And for the
Yes.
longest time, my mother has always been like, you need to let me know. when you're going through that because I can't handle you. You're a freaking monster. And
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't have a problem. You're
Of
yelling.
course. Yeah, in the moment, you're like, "I'm
But
fine. What's your
but
problem?"
you really should just be like, listen,
Mhm.
just a heads up. I
Yeah.
feel like shit.
Yeah.
So prepare. Like that
Yeah.
that's good,
And your
especially with
team
your
can
team.
support you. Now, if
Yes.
you're doing that every day, and I use this as an example, if every day, guys, you come in and you have a problem, and your team's gonna get tired of that too, right? Because you can't be that person, or you can be, it's just not gonna work with our team.
Right.
But everyone has shit, right? And so, everyone's gonna have bad days, bad moments, horrible life experiences that happen. You got to deal with it. And just be upfront. That way, instead of people thinking like, "Oh my God, she's so lazy today," they actually know what's going on,
Yeah.
you know?
Mhm.
So
And
maybe
how
I
is
got off
your
a little bit.
No, that's perfect. How is your son? How has he been affected with his mom being a boss babe?
Well, that's a really question. So I don't know how much of my history, but my son he's just turned 18, but he has autism.
Oh.
Yeah. So it hasn't really affected him because he doesn't really care.
Right.
So he doesn't,
Yeah.
so he doesn't really, know any different. So, that was such a big reason too. Especially at the beginning, I had so much drive to like, I've got to do this. I've got to be like boss bitch. I have to like make it happen, was to provide and support him with the therapy that he needed. Like that was one of my drivers. I loved what I did. I loved the business. I was like, this is so cool. But that was also underlying motivation of, I got to make shit happen. Do you have kids?
I do not. I have a
Okay.
beagle.
Oh my God. Okay. I love dogs, love them. But I think, a lot of moms, and I'm sure you can still relate and, understand, as a lot of what we do is like for our kids,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
if I'm just so lucky that I love what I do, but so much of what I do is for his name's Maverick, is for Maverick, and, to be able to provide him with what he needs. So
I love that.
in
That
that
makes
way,
so
it's
much
affected
sense
him.
now.
Mhm.
So much sense. That's why
Yeah.
you're like, fuck this. I'm gonna do it."
Yeah.
Oh yeah, girl.
Yeah. So, it's like I knew, in a sense, you look back and you're like, I wish it would have been so much easier, right? Like, I wish I could have had his dad would have been supportive, and, but you know what? If that had happened, then I probably wouldn't be where I am now,
Mhm.
you know? And so I think we can all look back and those hard life lessons, what's the saying? It's not happening to us, it's happening for us.
I love that one.
Right? And so
Yes.
it's really hard to think that when you're in the moment, but a lot of times you can look back and go, "Wow, that did fucking happen for me," because I wouldn't be here.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, so time is going, but what is a question you wish I asked and how would you have answered?
First off, I just have to ask you, what is your sign? What sign are you?
I am like cusp of Virgo and Libra.
Okay,
It depends on the
interesting.
year.
Okay. When's your birthday?
September 20th.
Okay. You ask such good questions. I just have to say, Christine, I am so impressed because your questions are just so not basic. They're just really good.
Thank
So
you,
impressed.
baby. Thank you.
Wow, a question that I wish you would have asked. Okay, so, you know, one of my, well, like actually my motto is live your free. So yeah, I wish you,
I love that. I love that. What is that about? Go.
so you can't ask the question now.
Sorry,
That's not
you're right.
fair.
You're right.
That's
You're
so
right.
not
I
fair.
totally
You can't take my question. You know, you just jacked my question. Not fair.
that was totally like in the moment. I'm sorry. Yes,
Yeah,
live your
that's
free.
fine. So anyway, I wish you would have asked, what is that? So what that means is basically, is I just like to tell our team, and just anyone obviously that I come in contact with, or, social media, is live your free means to do and say like whatever makes you feel most alive, regardless of the consequences. And
Ooh.
so the that's the huge part, is regardless of the consequences,
Yeah.
because it's so easy to be like, do what makes you feel most alive, you know. But what happens so often is, first off, people don't do it, okay, because they're so scared. And I use this as an example. So, um, got married super young, and then I came out as gay when I was, 38, 39. So, yeah. So you're like, whoa, didn't know that. So,
Man,
so
I missed
yeah,
the whole episode. We need to do this again.
we'll do another one and have a conversation over that. But
Yeah.
it was really really hard because a lot of people are so supported, and I definitely was not in many ways. I will say my salon team was like fucking amazing, but I just really learned through that, as in like, you have to do what makes you most alive, what makes you most passionate, regardless of the consequences. Even if you lose people, even if, you get hate, even, you know, if someone completely that you love shuts you out of their life, you have to take that risk. Like, often, whatever, makes you feel most alive, you're going to have a lot of people that might not support that. Um, so you have to do it. Life's too short. Go fucking live your free, regardless of the consequences, because you know what? It's like when you're on your deathbed, I don't want to be one of those that says, "Oh man, I wish I would have." I don't want to do that. I had someone very close to me pass away that, at like 38, and from cancer, and to see that really affects you, as in like, man, like fucking live your life. Like, who cares what people think, as long as you're happy, like do it. So yeah, there you go. Live your free.
What is it fully? Live your free
Live your free.
with
So it's do and
with
say what makes you feel most alive, regardless of the consequences.
Oh, I
Mhm.
love that. Whoa, it was just like mind blown. Like so many of like boom, 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 boom. Like
Yeah, well, I'm glad you like it, but I mean, and I still live it. It's not a, oh, one and done, and I'm just so
Mhm.
great, perfect at it. It's what I remind myself of when I want to be more authentic and more vulnerable. It's like, what do you really want? And I get really clear on that, and then I do it, regardless of what's going to happen, because I know, I'm not saying just like you just say shit and don't care about, it's not about that. It's, you have to really get clear on what you want. And if you
Yeah.
know, like, this is what's going to make me happy, you have to do that,
Mhm.
regardless, like, regardless of what may happen. And a lot of times the worst thing doesn't even happen. But even if it does, at least you're happy.
Yeah. And you learn something from it and you're like,
Yep.
wow, I know what to expect next time, like
Absolutely. And
yeah.
you're so much more, going back to that word you said, empowered. You're so much more empowered, because once you do it once and you realize, well, you know what? Really wasn't that hard, or it was really hard. There was a lot of like consequences, people might have dropped me, etc. But I'm so much happier, and the more you do it, the easier it gets.
That's so cool. Yeah, that's 100% correct. Absolutely. Oh my goodness, Natalie. Thank you for coming on
Oh, it
the
was such a pleasure
show
talking with you.
and
Like, you're
sharing.
amazing.
Thank you
And
so much.
seriously, so impressed with your questions. I I wish, like, I'm gonna create a podcast episode just for you, so I can ask you questions, because I know you don't know this about me, but I am like the question queen. Everyone says that. They're like, "Oh my god, Natalie, you're so good at asking questions." I've It's very unusual for me to meet someone that can ask such good questions. So impressed.
Oh my God. I am so excited. Let's
Mhm.
do it. My
Yeah.
thing is, I love people's stories. I love
Yeah, I can tell.
like knowing people, like,
Mhm.
oh, it just
Mhm.
thrills me the same way like growing a business and going to work every day. It just like,
Mhm.
oh, I just love it.
You
So
love
thank you.
people. You
I
clearly love
do.
people, and
I
to me,
do.
that's probably a huge reason why you're super successful. You love people.
Thanks. Oh my
So
gosh.
thank you for having me.
Absolutely. All right, listeners, that is today. Thank you for joining the Beauty Pro podcast. Make sure to leave your ratings and reviews. And shout out to Miss Natalie in Houston. And until next time. If you loved this episode, subscribe to the BeautyPro podcast on Spotify and Apple Podcasts so you never miss an episode. Don't forget to leave your reviews, stars, feedback so I can continue bring the content you deserve and want most. Your feedback fuels this podcast. The more you give, the more you get back. You can follow me at The BeautyPro Coach on Instagram and Facebook. Want to contact me directly? Email me at befree@goldentruthcoaching.com.